rituals and customs that carried deep psychological and emotional value. Every culture preserved some version of magical belief: the blessing of a newborn, the lighting of candles for protection, the wearing of symbols for luck, or the reciting of prayers for safety. These were not mere habits. They were acts of meaning. Each tradition carried within it a memory of humanity's oldest understanding, that the visible and invisible worlds are intertwined. That understanding, though often buried under modern skepticism, continues to draw people toward magic even today. Cultural continuity is one of the main reasons magic still exists in the 21st century. Many people inherit beliefs from their ancestors without fully realizing it. A ritual performed by a grandmother, a story told by elders, a custom passed down during festivals. These are carriers of ancient wisdom disguised as culture. They shape the subconscious beliefs of entire societies. Even those who consider themselves rational often live within symbols created by old traditions. The act of making a wish on a shooting star, knocking on wood, or avoiding certain omens. All of these come from the same roots that nourished ancient magical practices. The surface has changed, but the seed remains alive. This persistence also reveals a deep human truth. People are comforted by continuity. In a world that changes rapidly, rituals and traditions offer a sense of stability. They connect individuals to something older and larger than themselves. Through magic, people feel part of a living story that stretches back to their ancestors and forward into the unknown. The candle lit in a modern apartment is not so different from the fire lit in an ancient temple. Both are expressions of reverence and hope. The symbols and words may differ, but the intention, to connect with something greater, remains timeless. Furthermore, culture gives legitimacy to belief. When practices are embedded in collective tradition, they gain strength. A person who follows a cultural ritual does not feel alone in their faith. They feel supported by generations of shared understanding. Magic then becomes a social and spiritual inheritance. It reminds people that their experiences of wonder and mystery are not isolated. They belong to a larger human journey. This is why even in modern technologically advanced societies, people return to old symbols and ancient philosophies when they feel lost or disconnected. In many parts of the world, old magical systems have also merged with religion and spirituality. Practices such as lighting incense, meditating with crystals, chanting mantras, or invoking protective energies are found across multiple faiths and cultures. What began as tribal or local magic became part of spiritual identity. These acts are often interpreted differently by religion and culture, but their essence is the same: to create harmony between human intention and universal energy. The blending of ancient magical thought with religious or spiritual practice allows it to survive under new names. What was once called spell work may now be called prayer, manifestation, or energy work, but the spirit of it endures. This endurance also shows how adaptive magic is. It does not disappear when societies modernize, it transforms. When science explains lightning, people stop fearing it as divine punishment, but they may still see storms as symbols of cleansing and renewal. When technology connects people across continents, magical traditions evolve into digital forms, online readings, energy healing sessions, and collective meditations. The cultural essence remains the same. People continue to use symbolic action to create psychological and emotional meaning. Even those who do not consciously believe in magic often engage with it through art, language, and ritualized behavior. Films, literature, and music constantly revisit themes of mystical power, destiny, and unseen energy. This artistic fascination reflects the cultural memory of magic as part of what it means to be human. The persistence of these ideas in culture shows that humanity does not easily let go of what once helped it understand the universe. The belief that there is more to life than the physical world continues to inspire imagination, creativity, and spirituality. Ultimately, cultural continuity ensures that magic remains a living part of human consciousness. It evolves with language, adapts to social change, and survives through symbolism. Every era, no matter how rational or advanced, carries echoes of the old ways. Through tradition, storytelling and ritual, magic passes quietly from one generation to the next, not as superstition, but as a reminder that human beings have always needed to see life as sacred. In this way, culture does not merely preserve belief, it keeps alive the ancient dialogue between humanity and the universe, a dialogue that continues to whisper in the background of even the most modern mind. Rituals and symbols have always been the language through which humans express what cannot be spoken. Long before the creation of written language, people used gestures, objects, and patterns to communicate meaning. When words failed to describe emotions like fear, hope, gratitude, or love, rituals took their place. The burning of herbs, the drawing of circles, the chanting of phrases, all these actions gave form to invisible thoughts. In every culture, these symbols and rituals became vessels of meaning, shaping the experience of magic. They are not merely superstitions, they are tools of focus, mindfulness, and emotional transformation. Even in the 21st century, they remain essential because they connect the outer act with the inner state. In ancient times, rituals were central to daily life. They guided transitions such as birth, marriage, and death. They marked the cycles of seasons and the rhythm of harvests. People believed that by performing these acts with intention, they could harmonize themselves with the energies of nature. The symbols carved into stones or painted on walls were not random, they were visual prayers, reminders of human connection to the universe. When a person carried an amulet or traced a sign in the air, it was an acknowledgement of unseen forces at work. Through repetition and rhythm, rituals helped the mind enter a state of awareness where ordinary actions became sacred. Modern psychology now understands what ancient magicians already knew, that ritual has a profound effect on the human mind. Repetition focuses attention, symbolic action channels emotion. When someone performs a small act with full intention, such as lighting a candle or repeating a mantra, it creates a state of mindfulness. The act itself becomes a meditation, drawing the mind away from chaos and toward clarity. This is why rituals are still practiced, consciously or unconsciously, by people who may not even believe in magic. From athletes following pre-game routines to individuals meditating with crystals, these actions provide structure, comfort, and focus in a world filled with distraction. The power of symbols lies in their ability to speak directly to the subconscious. A symbol compresses vast meaning into a single image: a star, a circle, a cross, an eye. These shapes transcend language and culture, awakening something ancient within the human psyche. Carl Jung referred to them as archetypes, universal patterns of meaning that connect all human beings. When people use symbols in magical or spiritual contexts, they are not simply decorating rituals, they are activating deep layers of consciousness. The mind responds to these symbols instinctively, linking emotion, memory, and belief into a single experience. Magic, at its heart, uses ritual and symbolism as bridges between thought and reality. A ritual is a way to bring internal intention into the external world. It is the physical manifestation of belief. When someone writes down an intention, places it beneath a stone, or speaks it aloud under the moon, they are translating emotion into form. This process gives the mind a sense of participation in creation. It transforms abstract desire into deliberate action. Psychologically, it empowers the individual. Spiritually, it aligns them with what they perceive as universal energy. Whether one calls it energy, prayer, or manifestation, the principle is the same: to bring thought into alignment with action. In this way, rituals and symbols act as tools of self-awareness. They slow down thought, deepen breath, and remind the individual of presence. In the fast-moving modern world, where the mind is constantly scattered, rituals bring focus. Even small acts, like pausing before eating, closing one's eyes in gratitude, or setting an intention before work, echo ancient magical traditions. These actions remind people that life is sacred, that every moment carries meaning. The modern world often measures value in productivity, but ritual reintroduces reverence, a quiet acknowledgement that some things cannot be measured, only felt. For many, these symbolic actions also create emotional healing. When grief, fear, or anxiety arise, the body and mind need expression. Ritual provides that expression through movement and rhythm. Lighting incense, washing hands in water, or writing and burning a letter of release can transform emotion into closure. It allows the individual to process what cannot be reasoned away. These acts might seem simple, yet they have deep psychological resonance. They remind people that healing is not just about logic, it is about embodying meaning. Across cultures, rituals have also been used as social connectors. A shared symbol or ceremony creates unity and belonging. Whether it is a festival, a prayer circle, or a simple act of collective intention, people find comfort in doing something sacred together. The shared act dissolves the illusion of separation. It reinforces the idea that humanity moves as one body through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and renewal. Even in a digital world, online communities gather to meditate, manifest, and share rituals across continents, continuing this timeless human practice in new forms. Symbols and rituals also act as a bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. They allow communication with the parts of ourselves that words cannot reach. When one draws a sigil, gazes into flame, or breathes rhythmically, the thinking mind becomes quiet, and intuition awakens. This altered awareness often brings insight, creativity, or emotional release. In ancient traditions, this was described as communion with spirit. In modern psychology, it is described as flow state or mindfulness. Both describe the same experience, a merging of attention and intention. Even though the 21st century is dominated by science and rationalism, rituals and symbols continue to exist because they satisfy needs that data cannot. They create meaning, foster awareness, and connect individuals to both their inner world and the larger universe. When people engage with these acts sincerely, they rediscover a sense of power that does not come from control but from alignment. Through them, ordinary moments become sacred, and daily life becomes an expression of consciousness. In this way, the symbolic and ritualistic dimensions of magic endure not as relics of the past, but as timeless practices that remind humanity of the depth, beauty, and mystery within existence itself. Throughout history, the relationship between science and magic has often been misunderstood. They are often seen as opposites, one based on logic and observation, the other on mystery and faith. Yet, if we look deeper, the roots of both are planted in the same soil: curiosity, wonder, and the desire to understand existence. The earliest magicians were also the first scientists. They studied the movements of the stars, the properties of plants, and the rhythms of nature. What they could not explain through observation, they explained through symbolism and intuition. Over time, as methods of reasoning evolved, this knowledge became formalized into science, but the spirit behind it, the need to explore and connect, remained the same. Both paths seek truth, though they travel by different routes. Science observes patterns through measurement, magic experiences them through awareness. One studies external phenomena, the other internal perception. The scientist dissects the world to understand how it works, while the magician contemplates the world to understand what it means. Both are explorers of reality, but one uses instruments, while the other uses consciousness. This is why, despite technological advancement, belief in magic continues, because there are dimensions of life that cannot be measured, only felt. Science can describe light, but it cannot describe the feeling of seeing a sunrise. It can explain the chemistry of emotion, but not the soul's experience of awe. Where science reaches the boundary of what can be proven, magic continues the journey inward. In the modern world, many assume that science has replaced magic, yet both coexist quietly. People trust science to explain the external world, but turn to magic for guidance in the inner one. When someone meditates to attract peace, prays for strength, or visualizes success, they are using principles that parallel scientific understanding of focus and energy. Modern physics tells us that everything is energy, and that observation can affect outcome, concepts that resonate deeply with magical thought. What ancient people called intention, modern researchers might call consciousness interaction.
The language has changed, but the essence is the same. Awareness influences reality. This harmony between science and magic becomes clearer when we understand that both are based on cause and effect. Science looks for physical causes, magic looks for metaphysical ones. When a ritual or affirmation changes a person's mindset, that shift influences behavior, which in turn influences outcome. The process may appear mystical, but it follows a natural order. Belief directs focus, focus directs action, and action changes reality. Magic expresses this law poetically, science explains it systematically. Both describe the same phenomenon, the power of perception to shape experience. Historically, science and magic have been two faces of the same search for knowledge. Alchemy, for example, was not only the pursuit of turning lead into gold, but also a spiritual discipline about transforming the self. The alchemists sought to refine both matter and mind. The experiments conducted in secret laboratories were not merely physical but philosophical. They laid the groundwork for modern chemistry and medicine. The desire to understand the invisible properties of nature drove innovation. In this sense, magic was the emotional and symbolic expression of early science. It gave meaning to the mysteries that were later decoded by mathematics and logic. Yet, even after centuries of discovery, those mysteries have not vanished, they have simply changed form. Modern quantum physics has brought this relationship full circle. It shows that reality is not fixed but responsive, that observation influences what is observed, and that everything is interconnected. These findings echo the ancient magical belief that consciousness participates in creation. What was once mystical metaphor now finds echoes in scientific theory. Of course, science does not confirm magic, but it reveals that the universe is far more fluid and mysterious than earlier generations imagined. This realization rekindles the sense of wonder that magic has always celebrated, that there is still more to know, more to experience, more to feel than what data alone can capture. Science seeks to understand through proof, while magic seeks to understand through experience. Yet both require discipline, observation, and humility. A scientist must test theories again and again, while a practitioner of magic must train the mind to focus and the spirit to align. Both know that knowledge without awareness is incomplete. Where science explains how energy behaves, magic explores how that energy feels. The two are not rivals, but reflections of different ways of knowing. Together, they form a complete vision of human understanding, one that honors both intellect and intuition. This perspective helps explain why, even in a rational age, people continue to turn toward magic. Science gives information, magic gives meaning. Science builds tools, magic builds connection. Humans need both. Without science, life would lack progress. Without magic, it would lack wonder. The human being is not a machine made only of logic, but a living consciousness made of thought, feeling, and imagination. Magic addresses the aspects of life that science cannot measure, the inner transformations that give value to existence. To believe in magic in the modern world is not to deny science, but to complement it. Science provides knowledge of the outer world, and magic provides knowledge of the inner world. Science tells us what things are made of, magic reminds us why they matter. When these two ways of knowing coexist, balance is restored. A person who understands science can build technology, but a person who understands magic learns how to use that technology with intention and wisdom. Thus, the belief in magic endures not as a rejection of reason, but as a remembrance that reality is deeper than reason alone. The stars that astronomers study through telescopes are the same stars that ancient magicians saw as living symbols. Both views hold truth. One measures their light, the other feels their meaning. When both perspectives are honored, the human spirit thrives. Science explains existence, magic makes it sacred. In this harmony lies the evolution of understanding, a recognition that knowledge and mystery are not enemies, but eternal partners in the dance of discovery. The belief in magic in the 21st century is not merely a remnant of the past, but a reflection of humanity's ongoing search for meaning in an age dominated by technology and data. Even as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and space exploration reshape the boundaries of what we know, something within the human heart continues to look beyond the visible, beyond logic. This longing reveals that belief in magic is not ignorance, it is an expression of the soul's desire for connection, mystery and transcendence. In a world where algorithms predict behavior and machines simulate thought, people still seek experiences that remind them they are more than biological systems. They seek evidence that life carries purpose, that unseen forces of meaning still shape destiny. Magic in this sense is not about spells or illusions, but about the need to experience wonder in a world that increasingly explains everything. Modern society offers information in abundance, yet many feel spiritually impoverished. The more connected people become through technology, the more disconnected they sometimes feel from themselves, from nature, and from something greater than human design. The constant flow of images, messages, and virtual realities has created an illusion of knowing everything, yet an emptiness often remains. In this emptiness, magic reappears, not as superstition, but as an antidote to disconnection. People turn to tarot, astrology, meditation and rituals not to escape reality, but to feel reconnected with it, to rediscover rhythm and meaning in a life dominated by screens and schedules. When logic fails to heal the loneliness of the mind, symbols, rituals, and intention offer a form of emotional grounding that reason alone cannot provide. Psychologically, belief in magic satisfies a deep human need for control and hope in an unpredictable world. Even though modern science explains the mechanics of nature, it cannot remove uncertainty from life. Illness, loss, love, and fate still remain beyond prediction. When faced with these uncertainties, people instinctively seek patterns and signs to feel aligned with something larger than themselves. This is not foolishness, it is an expression of resilience. Magical thinking becomes a way to restore agency in situations that feel powerless. Lighting a candle, saying a prayer, or carrying a lucky charm might not change the laws of physics, but it changes the psychology of the believer. It calms fear, strengthens resolve, and awakens hope. Science calls this the placebo effect, spirituality calls it faith. Both reveal the same truth: belief shapes experience. In a broader sense, magic in the modern era reflects humanity's need for imagination. The imagination is the bridge between what is and what could be. Every invention, from flight to electricity to digital technology, began as an idea, something unseen, intangible, a form of magic in its own right. When a scientist envisions a theory before proving it, when an artist dreams a world before painting it, when a person believes in a possibility before it becomes real, they are engaging in the essence of magic. It is the ability to use mind and intention to transform reality. This shows that belief in magic is not in conflict with progress. It is woven into the process of creation itself. Without imagination, science would have no direction, and technology no inspiration. Magic keeps the flame of curiosity alive by reminding people that not everything valuable can be measured. On a cultural level, the return of interest in magic, through books, films, spiritual movements, and even fashion, reflects a collective hunger for myth and meaning. Ancient myths once served as mirrors for human experience, teaching wisdom through story and symbol. Modern societies, though more rational, still crave those mirrors. Magic gives shape to that need by reintroducing mystery into everyday life. It allows people to see themselves not as isolated individuals, but as participants in a greater narrative, one filled with energy, symbolism and purpose. When someone reads their horoscope, performs a ritual or visualizes abundance, they are affirming that their life is part of a meaningful pattern. Whether or not that pattern can be proven does not matter. What matters is that it gives emotional coherence to existence. In this way, belief in magic today can be understood as a modern spiritual language, a way of expressing the same truths that philosophy, religion, and psychology explore. It is the recognition that life is not merely mechanical, but also mystical. Even in an age of artificial intelligence, people still ask the same timeless questions. Why am I here? What is my purpose? What happens when I die? Science provides partial answers, but magic offers a personal experience of those answers. It invites people to trust intuition, to feel the invisible threads of connection that science cannot quantify. It teaches presence, intention, and awareness, values that modern life often overlooks. Ultimately, the persistence of magic in the 21st century is proof not of humanity's ignorance, but of its depth. The more advanced we become technologically, the more we crave the simplicity of meaning. People are not only data-driven beings, they are emotional, spiritual, and imaginative. They long for experiences that restore awe, humility, and reverence, qualities that magic naturally cultivates. It reminds people that despite all human progress, mystery still exists, and that mystery gives life its beauty. The stars may now be mapped by astronomers, yet they still inspire the same wonder they did in ancient times. The rituals may have changed, but the longing behind them remains the same, the longing to touch the infinite. Thus, belief in magic endures not as a rejection of the modern world, but as a quiet rebellion against meaninglessness. It is the human heart's way of saying that life is more than numbers, that the unseen still matters, that imagination is sacred. Even in the 21st century, when reason seems to reign, people continue to look for miracles, not because they deny reality, but because they sense that reality itself is miraculous. The belief in magic is, at its core, a belief in possibility, the eternal reminder that within and beyond the known world, something greater is always waiting to be discovered. When we reach the end of this reflection, one truth becomes clear: the belief in magic in the 21st century is not a sign that humanity refuses to evolve, it is evidence that humanity continues to feel. In a world overflowing with information, speed, and precision, people still carry within them the quiet hunger for wonder. Magic endures because it speaks to something that technology cannot replace: the inner life, the poetry of existence, the sense that we are part of something larger than ourselves. To believe in magic is to remember that not everything real can be seen, and not everything seen is truly understood. It is to recognize that beyond logic lies imagination, and beyond knowledge lies wisdom. Even as science explains the universe, magic reminds us to feel its beauty. The two are not enemies but companions, one revealing the structure of reality, the other revealing its soul. In truth, magic has never disappeared, it has only changed its language. Today, it is found in the scientist who dreams of discovery, in the artist who gives shape to emotion, in the person who believes that thought can shape destiny. Magic is simply the courage to believe that the invisible matters, that hope, intention, and love still influence the unfolding of life. So why do people still believe in magic? Because it keeps the human spirit alive, it keeps wonder alive, it keeps the mystery of being human alive. And as long as humanity continues to seek connection, meaning, and beauty in the unseen, the flame of magic will never die. It will continue to glow quietly within every heart that dares to believe that there is more to life than what the eyes can see.